The third volume is the Tantra of Instructions. Just a moment, please. It is concerned with medicine. This is the Gyushi, the fundamental text in 4 parts. It is referred to as the knowledge of healing and was written in the 12th century by Yutog the Younger. He came from Gyantse. He took what was best in all known medical systems, and on it he based the fundamental textbook. He collected texts going back over 1,000 years, like a bee gathering honey. And now to this text on medicine. In the 17th century, under the reign of the 5th Dalai Lama, Desi Rinpoche wrote this medical treatise. Of the 1,600 illnesses described, 18 included here belonged to the future, and they develop in accordance with the changing environment. This also is Desi Rinpoche's work. Now this dates back to the 17th century, during the reign of the 5th Dalai Lama. Using this Tantra as a base, Desi Rinpoche had drawings made on 79 tankas, illustrating the medical knowledge. At the beginning, the fetus is formed in the center, as it is on the tanka. These are the 3 vessels. From the navel, one channel goes up to form the brain. One channel goes down from the navel, forming the sexual organs. This is where desire resides. In the middle is the channel of life, bound to blood. This is where hatred sits. These are the 3 most important channels. Altogether, there are 24,000 channels.
I fell down and hurt my leg.
Open your robes just a little. Look in this direction. The length of the index finger delineates the channels. You must measure the length like this, though we are told to measure from the anus. With her, we must measure a little above it. This here is the meridian of the rectum. It would hurt if you press here. You see?
Did this one turn out all right?
You rolled that one very well.
What about this one?
Yes, that's fine. This one turned out well. And this I won't need. Garlic acts as an antidote and as an antiseptic. Glues have no medicinal properties. According to the medical texts, garlic can kill germs, extract poison, and act as a glue. That's enough. The bigger one is good. Now don't be afraid. You hold her. Please bear with me. This will burn just a little, and then it's all over.
Shall I bring in the next nun?
Does it hurt? We can do it without moxa, but with the hot gold rod instead. Can you press down here? If the burning rod touches her ear, we would have serious problems.
Is this the functional channel?
It's the main channel.
Are these the channels?
Yes, this is the main channel.
Don't drink any cold water today or bathe in cold water.
So don't drink any cold water.
I have a headache, insomnia, and sight problems.
He sprained his ankle hopping when he was a child.
At that time, have you had no heat treatment?
I couldn't go to see a doctor because it was too far. Then I underwent beneficial heat therapy.
Judging from your pulse, you wouldn't stand heat therapy.
And if we were to cup him?
Now it's complete. We take the patient's left hand and the doctor's right. With the index finger, he feels the heart and the smaller intestine. With the middle finger, he feels the spleen and the stomach. With the ring finger, he feels the reproductive organs and the left kidney. With the index finger, he feels the lungs and the greater intestine. With the middle finger, he feels the liver and the gallbladder. With the ring finger, he feels the right kidney and the bladder. We feel the pulses like this. The 12 pulse beats are characteristic for the vital and hollow organs and resemble the waves of an ocean. Like this, we read the force of the wind, which exerts influence on the pulse. The movement of the wind is comparable to the wind that drives the waves of the ocean. Whenever a wave arrives, it makes a human being advance. When it recedes, it pushes him back. When the wave is at its crest, it breaks. In the human body, this wave can be felt in the pulse. Both are called wind. Wind corresponds to the element wind and is responsible for all that moves in the body. Bile is based on the element fire, representing the body's heat. Phlegm is based on earth and water and corresponds to the body fluids. There are 3 different things in the body: movement, heat, and fluids. They are called wind, bile, and phlegm. I have explained this in a brief and clear manner. It would be difficult to explain in more detail. When 2 people rile each other, they end up in a fight. When the elements in a human being get mixed up, disease is the result. Whenever these causes appear, they must be mastered. The cause always depends on the individual person, on your mental disposition, on what you eat, on the efforts you make, working hard and eating little. All these are also causes. Drugs must be able to heal disease, and the patient should watch out for the causes and curb them. The patient is responsible for the causes, the doctor is responsible for healing the disease. Giving advice is also up to the doctor.
Please sit down here. I feel a bit better today. The cough is better.
Now it's not too bad.
Do I have a temperature?
Yes, Your Holiness, you still have a little temperature. You can stop taking the medicine that regulates temperature for a while.
I took it yesterday and this morning as usual. And this morning I took Ditic.
Go on taking that, please. Your Holiness, you should allow yourself a little rest.
This evening, like yesterday evening, I'll take Gava 16 and Kyunga Galsen, as you prescribed for me. If the doctor who prescribes Tibetan medicine is a Buddhist, he may, when giving the medication, either pray or recite mantras. It may likewise be useful, if the patient happens to be a Buddhist, then he or she can pray or meditate while taking the medicine. Since, however, the basic text on Tibetan medicine is something separate from Buddhism, Tibetan medicine can be beneficial even when doctor or patient are not Buddhists.
Has the heat therapy helped you? Yes, he said I needed 5 applications. The first one did me a lot of good without any pus running. It's dry with no running. Are you able to walk now? Yes, with a stick. I hold myself up against the wall. Once you've had the other 4 heat applications, you'll be able to walk without the wall.
Lift up your shirt a bit and lower your trousers a little. Nikita Bashanovich, 65 years old, who lives in the Irkutsk area, was taken in by us for observation and treatment of his diseased right kidney.
The left one.
Yes, you were in the regional hospital in the town of Irkutsk.
What?
You were examined in Irkutsk, weren't you?
Yes, after spending 6 months there, I wanted to be examined here.
This is the group of enlarged lymph glands, taken from a series of X-rays, indicating a metastasis of the tumor in this particular area. The ultrasound analysis reveals the extremely enlarged left kidney. It's so enlarged that the screen can't even reproduce it. The contours are very uneven and badly distorted. Due to the results of the examination at hand, the diagnosis is complete. According to the latest clinical results, the patient can no longer be operated.
В общем, данным показаний к оперативному лечению больного нет.
What about the medical report?
Did you bring it with you?
Other X-rays?
They were taken at the hospital.
In the Republic Hospital?
No, in the emergency hospital.
in the afternoon at 5 o'clock. Three times daily with water.
Do I drink all of it?
Do as is written here.
Take only one remedy at a time for 21 days.
But how do I drink it? What do I do with water?
All the indications are there.
This describes how kidney diseases can be diagnosed from these 7 astonishing pulses. Kidneys, here as well. In Tibetan, we could call Nikita Maglaev's illness something like Khaldum, acute kidney disease, or, judging from its strain, a type of cancer. Since the disease is of a chronic nature, the medicine contains this: Moschus moschiferus, Bengal madder, and Rubia cordifolia.
What are these called?
Aconite.
And Dad? Do those grow in Ulan Ude too?
They do. The peculiarity of Tibetan prescriptions lies in the fact that they have many constituents. Let's say 35 constituents. Among these are plants and fruits with healing effects, specifically for this or that organ. Other constituents help the other organs. Their dosage is determined by mathematical modulation so as to avoid side effects. Still no blood in your urine?
Not since I last saw you.
And before?
After lifting something heavy, chopping wood, or when driving on a rough road, I always had blood in my urine.
Stand up. Does it hurt?
You're hurting me.
Does that hurt?
Eight, 10, 15. There were 21.
You take them over 6 days.
One a day for 6 days. These two.
Do you boil them?
I swallow them as a powder in water. I boil the others and drink them. I take these during the day and the others before going to bed. If only I felt just a little better, what a joy it would be. If only I could live to see my 70th birthday.
Here are some constituents from which I've made medicine.
Компоненты, из которых я делал лекарства.
For drugs made from 18 constituents, I used, for example, Rubia cordifolia, madder extracted from ficus, Decapoda, Elateria cardamomum, or cardamoms.
Ну, примерно вот здесь, что входит вот это, изображено в этих.
That's this tanker finished.
Дальше.
Now to the next one.
Много.
A lot of raw drugs are from plants, but nothing works without myrobalan, of course.
Это арора, естественно, входит это.
This variety of myrobalan is not the variety Buddha holds in his hand. This is myrobalan jigne with 5 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's called jigme and not namgyal. Myrobalan is a universal cure for all kinds of diseases, for it provides the 6 qualities of taste. After being dried, that myrobalan looks more like this one, doesn't it? This one's called long spout myrobalan. It's very good for infant diseases. The 6 different qualities of taste are of primary importance in plant medicine. There are 6 different tastes and 8 potencies. The 8 potencies being heavy, oily, cool, blunt, light, coarse, hot and sharp. The 6 areas of taste are composed of 2 elements respectively: earth-water, fire-earth, water fire, water wind, fire wind, and earth wind. Thus, everything composed consists of the 5 elements. This provides us with the 6 different tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, hot, and tartaric. In an unpolluted environment, the medicine will be effective.
Then we drove off. Our driver always used to speed, as on this occasion. And because I have an inherent fear of driving at great speed, I decided to go to sleep, and so fell asleep. I was told later that the car had overturned several times. They pulled me to the side of the road. Then I said to my friend, there must be something wrong with my spinal column. I can't move my legs. I do feel a numbness in them and try hard to move them, but they remain motionless.
Does this hurt here or not? I see. Can you make a fist? Is that all the power you have here?
All the power I have is in my wrist.
And nothing here?
Nothing in the fingers. He took the medicine and practically everything was all right. There was even a flush of blood in his cheeks, something he never had before. But yesterday he unexpectedly complained of passing a little water and again with blood. Chimidorji, you are treating Nikita Bajanovich? He wants me to ask you. How long will this last? When will it stop then? Fine. Goodbye. He says that some blood passing is normal. This is a reaction. Once it's stopped, it's over.
I've just gone to the toilet and done well. I couldn't urinate properly for a week.
How much?
About 1 deciliter as I used to, and I do feel well now.
There was so little before.
I used to want to let go of so much, but there were only drops. Now 1 deciliter must have passed.
Was there any blood?
Yes, there was, in clots.
In clots, you said? Now it's time to take the medicine.
First, I wanted to know exactly how I should take it.
Nothing special, just boil it in water. Start taking it now, and health and strength will return.
Will I be able to return again to Taptanai? Here my mother gave birth to me, my God. Those are the hills where we used to run and play. The well stands out nicely, doesn't it? The Aga monastery was huge. I remember it well. There were celebrations every year with prayers being held. The lamas would read out in loud voices. There were also musical instruments borne on the shoulders, extremely long. And they played like this. Sultan was the oldest. He had studied the Eastern Tibetan medicine. He's wearing otter fur. Sultan battled against the epidemic that killed many people and wiped out villages. In so doing, he became a famous healer and a trusted person of the government, honored with epaulets. He took his youngest brother, Shamsaran, under his wing, later known as Pyotr Badmaev. Here he is sitting in his pharmacy with nothing but medicines. Here are my uncles who were brought to St. Petersburg.
Сэрэндандаг. Осор. Хөрөнжап. Батмаев.
I knew that he'd gone to Poland and lived there. People said he had a son.
Und dann hat der Peter Batmajew unter dem Arm alles.
Peter Batmajew carried all his father's documents under his arm across what was then the Iron Curtain. I've no idea if they were all intact. In any case, it was quite a mountain of recipes and various other documents he set down on my table and said I could do with it what I wanted. Being a surgeon, he wasn't interested in it. As a young lad, he used to watch his father practicing, and during their walks in the woods, his father would tell him about Tibetan medicine. Batmajew and I went to St. Gall during my holidays. We left every morning at 5:30 or 6, and at 7 we were at Dixa, the biggest and best company in Switzerland dealing with and grinding medicinal plants. That's where we went. I'd met those people before during my apprenticeship. We had the first 12 recipes made.
12 Rezepte haben wir gemacht und da habe ich die pressen zu Tabletten.
I had them pressed into tablets and gave them to some doctors I knew from my time in the chemical industry. Of course, they laughed their heads off.
Die haben natürlich den ganzen Volk gelacht und gesagt, jetzt kommt der Lutz mit.
Here comes Lutz with his little Tibetan plant cures. What progress we've made. But then I gave them such piles of pharmaceutical samples from sharing that they said, he's a good sort, old Lutz. Let's test all this.
Liebe sich, der Lutz, das machen wir. Wir tun das prüfen. Und dann haben wir so 5 oder 6 Ärzte gehabt.
5 or 6 doctors in Winterthur tested them.
Die haben das prüft.
First the treatment for chronic constipation. Then after a while they said, this works. Calendula officinalis. I became more and more involved in this thing. It really grabbed me, this Tibetan medicine, and I became more and more interested. I had an intuition, after observing such great clinical therapeutic results, that there must be something to it, even if no chemistry is involved. Obviously, there are other ways and means of healing.
Man stirbt im Allgemeinen nicht mehr an einer Infektionskrankheit und das.
Nowadays, it's unusual for anyone to die of an infectious disease, which is due to the success of chemotherapy and antibiotic treatment. The fact that this proved so successful was a great step forward. What makes people sick today are the so-called non-contagious ills of civilization. What this really means is, in fact, the whole range of arteriosclerotic diseases, malignant tumors, various cancers and geriatric disorders, or geriatric degradation. That's basically the greatest problem for modern medicine: the victory over and the prevention of geriatric disorders, arteriosclerosis and cancer. Conventional medicine is now being faced with ever-increasing problems because it has to rely on synthetic processes. Surely it is much more promising to investigate the wealth and experience of doctors of former times in order to use and benefit from it.
This can only be done by using the tongue. Of course, extensive experience is required. There are different things we already know. We've got the complete system in our head, just like the Tibetan doctors have from their studies. Yet without the tongue, it's impossible.
It is very interesting for an immunologist to explain the mechanisms in the organism by using the wealth of experience of pre-pharmaceutical plant compounds together with the scientific knowledge of today.
Mechanismen in einem Organismus erklären. Und das ist das Hauptinteresse gsi, wo ich
This was the primary interest I had in my collaboration with Mr. Lutz and his firm making Tibetan remedies.
Und ich habe mir die Überlegung gemacht.
I thought to myself that such a plant mixture can be extremely beneficial because the individual plants react reciprocally to greater effect.
Pflanzen gegenseitig ihre Wirkung können verstärken. Und weil es nur in geringer Menge vorhanden sind,
since the single components are only present in small quantities, any side effects they may have are diminished in such a way that these plant compounds are very effective and well tolerated.
Das ist ja das Problem bei der pharmazeutischen.
That's the problem with pharmaceutical substances. Being chemically determined uniform substances, they exert a specific influence on the body, and in so doing, often effects and side effects interfere.
Ein anstörend Beeinfluss.
Ich war ein junger Studenten, wie eben die.
I was a young student when the group with Mr. Lutz and his accompanying doctors arrived.
Angekommen sind, seiner ganzen Begeisterung.
He was full of enthusiasm for science and our work in the field of Tibetan medicine.
Die Idee, die in ihm drinnen.
The idea he had in relation to Tibetan medicine and light is in a work by Badmayev. In a note, a sentence, he mentions that Tibetan medicine uses the light body. and he looked for this light emission. This kind of radiation seems to have revealed itself through science in the light emissions of living systems. So he shifted all this to the field of science, which was rather daring, since Bad-Meier probably didn't mean it so literally. It is normally held that electromagnetic waves exist, the dispersion of light in waves. But within the limits of the quantum theory, they are light quantums at the same time. And these light quantums are counted in particles. We have made biophotographic measurements of ingesting cells. Ingesting cells are white blood corpuscles. We added to these cells an extract of Padma-28 and observed how the light emission of these ingesting cells changed.
Ich wusste, dass also Pflanzen Licht ausstrahlen. Das wusste ich, weil wir Untersuchungen gemacht haben.
I knew that plants emit light because we examined some plants, so I knew that chemical reactions contribute to light being emitted.
Licht emittiert wird, weil es gibt ja auch einen Zweig in der Chemie, die heißt Photochemie.
There is a branch of chemistry called photochemistry that examines light emission and absorption. It was exciting to wait for the results, which finally arrived after all the tests which had taken years.
Abzuwarten, nicht? Und die dann tatsächlich eingetreten sind. Wobei die Untersuchungen sich über Jahre hindurch dann gehalten haben. Wir haben immer mehr intensiv.
We then asked more and more questions. It soon became clear that everything is related to light emission, but that was hardly enough. We wanted to know how, in what wavelength, and what effect was produced. All this created an even closer relationship between our institute, our photobiophysics group, and Mr. Lutz in Switzerland.
Und unserer Gruppe der Photobiophysik und dem Herrn Lutz in der Schweiz geführt.
Wir haben uns zwei
We observed two different emissions of light. One emission is the resting period, when the ingesting cells are dormant. Once the extract is added, the intensity of radiation is increased. However, once the ingestion stage begins when nourishment is offered, emission weakens due to the addition of the plant extract. This fits the physiological process. To improve defense mechanisms in the healthy body when inflammation takes over in chronic illness, it reduces this chronic inflammation. This fits exactly the clinical results and characteristics already obtained.
The
fact that there are two phases, two levels of activity, is precisely the important thing leading to the question, how can a systematic theory, how can the fact be formulated that two different actions coexist in the same remedy? This really would be the wishful dream. A very weak impulse is taken and used. The organism picks up this impulse to become healthy almost on its own, but could not act on its own since it needs this very impulse. And obviously, the masterstroke is to find the correctly arranged impulses in the multiplicity of the millions upon millions of possibilities the world offers us. And here it appears the Tibetan doctors, in the wealth of their experience and degree of knowledge, have found the very combinations to send out this impulse. And the way they combine these, by tasting and by smelling the different medicinal herbs, compounding them into one mixture to be administered to the patient, with the organism translating this impulse to become healthy. This is very different from Western thought. First, the illness has to be understood, then comes the clearly targeted intervention. This is the greatest difference and the greatest mystery in the working of Tibetan medicine.
Oi.
In order to make precious pills, you need gold, silver, copper, iron, lead, brass, and many other elements. There are the so-called 8 main features, 4 secondary aspects, and 8 ions. This method is extremely difficult. This procedure requires 20 people and takes about 4 months. It also requires decontamination, followed by distillation and calcination. For example, gold takes 54 hours to smelt, silver 10 hours, and a certain time to smelt iron, etc. This practice is entrusted to the best students once their basic studies are completed. However, they must work first to gain experience.
During
the nuclear catastrophe at Chernobyl in Russia, many people were contaminated by poisonous substances and had to be hospitalized. I asked them if they wanted medicine from me. All of them wanted the medicine. I prescribed them precious pills like Dangjor and Mangjor. Then I went to Mongolia. 20 days later, I returned to Russia. On my return, I inquired about the patients. Of the 22 patients, 8 or 9 were still in hospital. The others were already discharged. I assembled all the doctors and asked them to have a look at the results of each patient. Symptoms like low blood pressure, swollen glands, palpitations, and pains in the bones were eased and mitigated, as if water had been poured over to soothe them. It was a wonderful result. Wonderful, I said.
In Tibetan medicine, it is said that certain substances have a healing effect on certain illnesses, but it is not explained how this happens. So it would be very useful to carry out an analytical examination, like that performed by scientists on Western medicines. The method in which certain medical substances have to be laid out in the light of the full moon will be difficult to explain scientifically, in my opinion. In this case, there is a kind of mutual dependence. Something mysterious seems to be playing a part. Whether this can be explained by scientific examination, I don't know. In any case, it would be very useful for humanity if Tibetan and Western medicine were practiced side by side. In certain cases, Western medicine is more effective. In others, it is the Tibetan one, which needs to be taken over a longer period of time.
Now to 5, 11, and 17. 5, 11, 17, and 23. Now, if you add Padma, little drop of these Tibetan plants into the system, there is total inhibition of the killing of the cells, suggesting that something in the extract possesses very strong antioxidant activities. Now, the idea to use Tibetan plants for this research stems from the fact that over the years in Tibet, these plants have been used against diseases characterized by what they call by heat, namely all kinds of fevers, inflammation, infection.
Many things, virals, infections, smoking, many things can cause damage to the vascular endothelium, and because of this damage, one can slowly get development of plaques here. The blood just flow here. You get formation of atherosclerotic plaque, which is full of smooth muscle cells, lipids, cholesterol, calcium. If this is really too much, we cannot clean it by balloon. If everything is already occluded, then you have to do bypass surgery. And in bypass surgery, you remove this piece, you take it away, and you put a piece from the saphenous vein, a new vessel here. And then you suture here. And in this area, you get a lot of problems. In 30% of the people, you get again smooth muscle cell, and many cases you have a problem and you have to repeat the surgery. And the idea is people are looking all over the world for compound or for drugs that inhibit this process of activation of the vascular smooth muscle cell and inhibit their migration and proliferation without affecting the vascular endothelial cells. So we want to keep this normal, but we want to prevent these cells from proliferating. And the Tibetan drugs, or that are extracts of plants, 20 different plants, were found to be potentially a good candidate to achieve this goal of preventing vascular smooth muscle cell migration.
Nach 3 Tagen haben sie mich untersucht, sie haben mir einen Herzkatheter gemacht.
They examined me for 3 days and performed a heart catheter. A tube is inserted in the groin and extended up to the heart. Then everything is photographed. I saw it on the TV. Then Professor Gurtner said, "Mr. Sterky, things don't look too good. Hardly anything is getting through your coronary vessels." That evening he said, "I can't give you a definite answer. I have to see the surgeon about the operation." The following morning, the 3 of them came to see me, 2 professors and a specialist, and started beating about the bush. And I said, "Stop beating about the bush now. I want to know the truth." He said, "You know what Professor Sieber told you in Zurich? We have nothing else to tell you. It's too late to operate, otherwise you won't get up again. You'll die during the operation." You can go home now. There's nothing we can do for you. I could have fallen down dead any time, any day, and had, in their opinion, 5 months to live. Then, here in Schwanden, I met an old colleague. He'd been in hospital 3 times in Zurich and 3 times in Bern's Inselspital. Before having his legs amputated, he went on another boat trip and met there a man with 1 leg. He asked him what it feels like to have a leg amputated. The man hit the roof and said angrily, "If only I'd known then what I know now, I'd still have my 2 legs." He asked, "What is it?" The one-legged replied that somebody had told him he should take Padma 28, which cleanses the blood vessels. Then he thought that before having his legs amputated, he would try it too. And here, 1 year later, he says to me, "Fritz, I feel fine. I don't need to go to hospital. I've still got my legs and I feel wonderful." And then I said to myself, "My God, if it cleanses the vessels in the legs, it'll surely do as much in the heart. It surely doesn't just work for the legs." After that, I started taking Padma 28 right away with garlic pills and chervil plant extract. And I feel better from day to day. I knew that Padma and all that is made from a mixture of plants, so I knew there must be something about it. 60 to 80% of all heart operations wouldn't need to be performed if people used the same treatment as I did. Although every professor, every doctor had given up on me, it's been over 10 years now since I've managed to save myself.
There may be a small tumor composed of malignant cells. Tumor cells going into the blood. In the blood, most of the tumor cells are killed by cells of the immune systems. 99.9% of the cells are dying within 3 hours after the tumor cells has entered the blood. But it's enough that 0.1% or something like this can go out. Then they start to grow another tumor in a different organ. And we can see what we mean here. These are endothelial cells line the inner side of the blood vessels. And these are lymphoma, highly metastatic lymphoma cells that try to get out of the blood into the organ. One hope that by inhibiting the ability of cell, they will stay in the blood. If they will stay in the blood, we inhibit their ability to go out, they will be killed. And we will prevent a major problem in cancer, which is the spread. People are dying not because of the primary tumor, because this can be removed by surgery, but they are dying because of the spread of cells, which is mainly through the blood. We can already prove it, that in the presence of the Tibetan drug, the tumor cells are not able to take a large molecule or macromolecules from the vessel wall and break them into small pieces. So we hope that in this collection of materials that are found in the Tibetan drug, we can find components which are good for inhibiting smooth muscle cell proliferation or for inhibiting tumor cell growth and invasion, because it's more or less the same.
Does that hurt? And here? What has happened to you?
I was taking part in a demonstration against the Chinese. Afterwards, I was imprisoned in Gortsa prison. There I was maltreated with sticks and electric batons. I received injuries to the skull.
There is damage to your skull. I've examined it.
Not only did they beat me with sticks, they threw me against the wall and beat me on the head. Their shoe soles were spiked with iron and they kicked me. My whole body was black and blue.
This side of the nerve is damaged. Look, it will hurt you here. Here? And here? This nerve was damaged. It goes downwards from here. The upper end of the nerve was beaten. What about your headaches?
I have them nearly always.
And after they had beaten you?
They took all my clothes off and threw me down, with my face to the ground, just like prostrating. There were 4 of them. One of them beat me. One had an electric baton in his hand. One had a thick jute rope with buttons on it. 3 of them beat me and one sent electric shocks all over my body. He thrust the baton through my vagina and anus, and I had no bowel movement for 3 days.
Now you are here. Here you will receive treatment. You mustn't worry anymore. You must get well again. The mind is very important. When the mind is at rest, that helps the healing. Now I'll prescribe you medicine. Take it correctly. You don't need to pay anything. I've prescribed medicine for 10 days. Go and get it from the pharmacy, and I'll prescribe precious pills Ratna Samphel as well. Put the precious pill in a glass with a little hot water and take them early in the morning. Don't eat meat and don't drink alcohol that day. 5 pills will do for 2 months. 1 pill every 2 weeks. Avoid strong tea, pork, and sour food.
They
shelled the Shakpuri School of Medicine and the Potala Palace with cannons. The Shakpuri was totally destroyed. We were all arrested and imprisoned. They destroyed our old cultural heritage. Nothing at all was spared. Only about 12 doctors have survived, most of them old. We were all imprisoned. They said that we were the major obstacle preventing their great leap forward. Only after 1980 was the other school of medicine, Menzigang, renovated pro forma in Lhasa.
One today, one tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and so on. Put it on the tongue and wash it down with water. Tumor in the left kidney. Fourth stage with metastases, inner chest lymph glands visible here on this photo. Thus, large lymph glands, 4 of which can be seen with the naked eye. This stage is so advanced that operating is no longer possible. In August, he went to see our Tibetan doctor Shimik Dorshi, and after treatment with Tibetan powders, these lymph glands return to normal size. At the end of the year, he was again examined in the same clinic in Irkutsk, and the doctors said it was possible to operate. How do you feel?
My appetite is improved. The afflictions are still the same.
A rapid recovery is not possible. You will recover slowly, slowly, and I should treat you later with the burning gold rod. For the moment, take the medicine and come back here often. Just remember that you suffered torture not on a personal level, but for the whole of Tibet. That is a very good thing. Put your mind at rest. The truth will come out in the end.
It is quite possible, with a proper, health-oriented way of life and the right attitude, to lead a contented life, free of illness and no impairment to feeling good. However, were you to ask whether it is possible to eradicate completely all illness and suffering, that is more difficult to answer. The question would have to be answered from a philosophical or Buddhist viewpoint. In the explanations that are given there, it is stated that much disease results from the nature of our body, which is composed of 4 or 5 elements. And it is said that old age, sickness and death result from our possessing a body with such a constitution.
Old age,
from the Buddhist philosophical point of view, it is possible that all suffering can be eliminated. So it is explained. Regarding reincarnation, it is said that whenever a life is over, a new one will arrive, the latter passing on in turn and so forth. This succession is infinite. The existence of beings continues uninterrupted. It is, however, possible to terminate an existence full of suffering. When one asks what it is that comes from an earlier life into this one and continues into the next, then the answer is that it is not the body, but the continuum of consciousness, the continuum of the self, that from beginningless time inhabits every being. At the end, when talking about nirvana, liberation, it is also mentioned that the self, consciousness, perpetuates itself uninterruptedly. This way of thinking makes a big difference when considering the usual attitude towards life. If one assumes that there is only one life, the attitude towards that life is short-sighted. If, on the other hand, one assumes that life continues, then the attitude towards life becomes wide and relaxed. This makes a big difference.
That's it.
That's it.